Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to answer the question, which is the better semiconductor stock to buy, AMD or Nvidia? Now each of these stocks has experienced a difficult year in 2022. Looking at their price chart, which I have pulled up on the screen here, AMD stock is down 53% in the last year. Meanwhile, Nvidia's stock is down 42%. So I'm going to look at a few metrics and answer which one is the better buy going into 2023. The first metric I'm going to look at is quarterly revenue growth year over year. Now, looking at these figures here, AMD's most recent quarter's growth of 29% is down off the higher end of the over 80% quarterly revenue growth it was delivering for in the peak of 2021. But compared to Nvidia had negative 16.5% revenue growth in its most recent quarter, and they're both reeling from the impacts of the slowdown in consumer purchases of electronics because we bought so many computers, gaming devices, and the such during the earlier stages of the pandemic. These are longer lasting goods. They're going to last for several years. So now we're not buying as many of these, and AMD and Nvidia, they're both experiencing a slowdown in revenue growth, and Nvidia more so than AMD. So advantage goes to AMD in this regard, 29% versus negative 16%. They are much better here. The next metric I look at here is the operating profit margin on a quarterly basis. And I have it here going back to 2018. And most recently, Nvidia had the 10% operating margin while AMD had the negative 1.15. But even if you look back historically, Nvidia has consistently maintained an advantage in terms of operating profit margin over AMD. So Nvidia gets the advantage here by a significant margin. I would give it Nvidia. The next metric I look at here is cash flow from operations, and I have it quarterly going back 3 years to January 2020. And in this regard, most recently, Nvidia's cash flow from operations have dropped significantly as they have built up these inventories they thought they were going to sell, but it's sitting on the shelves longer than they expected. So that's a use of cash, and that's brought down cash flow from operations. But if you look longer term, Nvidia has consistently exceeded AMD in terms of cash flow from operations. AMD is more consistently on the upswing here. And in this regard, I would give them a tie. Uh, Nvidia's inventory troubles are exacerbated in recent months, while AMD is not experiencing as much of a headwind, and more consistency from AMD makes up for the fact that they are lower in terms of cash flow from operations. So a tie in this metric. Finally, I look at valuation to determine which stock is the better buy. And in terms of valuation, I looked at the price to earnings ratio and the price to free cash flow ratio. Starting with price to earnings, Nvidia at 68.82 and AMD at 38.47. Nvidia is considerably more expensive than AMD stock. And then going to price to free cash flow, Nvidia at 84, AMD at 27.76. Again, Nvidia almost more than 3 times more expensive than AMD in that regard. So, to answer the question, which one is a better semiconductor stock to buy for 2023, AMD stock or Nvidia stock? I would say the answer is AMD stock. The significantly cheaper valuation makes up for some of the disadvantages in terms of operating profit margin and cash flow from operation advantage over the longer term. And then going forward, the prospects for Nvidia's future revenue potential is maybe a little bit better than AMD's is. But to make up for that fact, Nvidia is selling at more than half the price, less than half the price of Nvidia is. So that those prospects may already be priced into Nvidia stock. And so if you're looking at which semiconductor stock to buy, I would go with AMD for 2023. All right, that's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.